Imagine More. We have a great show. I know you missed us because it's been weeks since we've been on.
Month even.
Month, yes. We had some more moratorium that we had to, regress and heal our wounds because it was definitely a difficult last month. But we're back nevertheless. We have a great show. We have great guests on today, Matthew, and we're looking forward to hearing his insight. He's been in the chat world, in Twitter, or X, and we're looking forward to hearing his perspective. Finally, I think it's the first time guest. So I gotta give you a clap in the hands for being here. Yeah,
I've tried to get Matt on before, but we finally made it happen today. So
yeah, we did. So that's awesome. And yeah, and then we obviously have Seth, co-host, Dios slash
yeah,
producer, co-host slash producer of the show.
doing
We
the
have,
Lord's work.
you know, get yourself a glowing globe from me to you. So we're looking forward to it, but I'm not gonna talk anymore. Seth, let me know how you been, man.
I've been pretty solid. Actually, I've been really good, which is weird because society is collapsing. So, it's always how it goes. You either have a personal life or like the rest of the world is doing okay. So at least things are going good on my end. I'm pretty happy. So, but
Yeah,
I'm trying to. That's because I've been trying to disassociate from the political scene. But here we are back again, ready to cover everything that's been happening since we last streamed literally the day before the election. So,
yep. And we're back.
and
Yeah,
boy, has a lot happened since then. But
yeah,
we got my good friend Matt Crowley on here. We've been friends for years online, so it's about time we got this done. I'm
Oh
sure you
yeah.
got a lot to talk about. I mean, you've always had one of the most like unpredictably interesting perspectives. You're always
That's
very
crazy.
one of the most open-minded people. One of the most open-minded people I know because you're always willing to shift whenever you find new information. Whatever the best idea is, you try to follow that. So I'm very interested
Oh
to see
yeah.
where you are now with everything. How have you been, Matt?
I've been doing good. I've I took a longer hiatus than you guys did because my daughter was born, so I took about a year off from doing all this, and but she's about a year old now, so she's a little bit more independent. Sleeps through the night, all that. So I'm able to come back on and do things again. So yeah,
That's
wow,
awesome.
congratulations. That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah. So me being, a new father too, like my son is 7, 8 months. So I really appreciate I don't think a lot of people on X know I have a kid, which is kind of sad by the way. We need to take
Yeah,
care of that. We need to figure that out. But um yeah, I imagine you being a dad, you're like super stoked and super tired and it's like you want to stream, but you just want to spend more time with their cute face, and so you're like,
Yeah,
so, oh, we totally get it. I mean, I know that feeling. It's a great feeling. Oh man, but yeah, so we're all back, and so we have a lot of ideas that we want to talk to you guys about tonight, and a lot of past news, present news, or where we're going news. So I want you guys to think about that's how we're going to take you through this journey to this episode. So we're going to start with this past news of our defeat from the Republican Party. Donald J. Trump won again. Um,
it was very unpredictable. I mean, we were at least gassing ourselves up into thinking that it was going to be a much different election, and so we're all a little taken aback for what actually happened there.
yeah, but I took it, and I'll let you guys chime in on this. When I reflected back, I talked to my wife, Jenny. You guys don't know her. Where I talked to my wife, and we kind of reflected back, and we was like, you know what? She just didn't have the it that you need to become president.
Yeah, I mean, it was a close enough election, so there's an argument that given more time, she could have cemented some sort of legacy, or at least people were a little bit stuck in
Right.
their own preconceived notions on who she was. Anyways, she didn't really have a lot of chance to define herself. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you think if given more time, she would have won this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Go ahead, man.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh no, I was just gonna say yeah. I do 100% believe if Biden would have bowed out near the beginning, because during his last campaign, he did say he was transitional and he would, leave the future up to the next generation. But him deciding to try it again at the young age of 80, I think 84, whatever it is. Yeah, just I believe that if she would have given like an actual primary, standing up against other ideas that are like hers, and if she would have won that, she would have been a stronger candidate than, kind of being thrown in there at the last minute. It seems like kind of being their only option because of, FEC rules and things like that. Yeah, if she would have run against people who would have challenged her and her ideas in a primary stage, and she would have won that, yeah, that would have been a better.
Yeah, no, yes. I agree. I totally agree that it would have been better. I don't know if she would have ultimately won. I think that I've always had the same issue with her. It's just like I believe she doesn't have enough charisma. And as you heard me say this, that when uh, when she got what's his name? Man, I already forgot his name. He needs to work on that. Tim Walz. There he goes. When he got him, I thought that was the greatest picture ever because I thought he had all the charisma in the world to offset it.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't enough. And it's charisma has to come from within. People are voting for you because they like you.
And they're not voting for a vice president. They're voting for
yeah. So I just definitely think there was better candidates that could have hold the flag. Like I know your mom. I think your mom doesn't like Megan Whitmore. Or your dad.
No, they both hate her because they're Republicans.
Yeah. Gretchen Whitmer, right, from Michigan. Yeah. And Seth fell off. Your video fell off, Seth.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. He's back. So I think she would have been. Yeah, I can still see audio.
Oh, and we're back again.
Yeah. So I think that she would have been a good candidate. I thought that the TV president from California.
Oh, Gavin
Newsom
would have been a good president. And that's the only two because I think they have like and you know what I also like Shapiro now. You can say what you want about Shapiro. He has swag. He has a little swag.
He's a little swag, and I actually do think he'd probably have won. But that's the situation now, which I think would be bad for the Democratic Party over the next 8 years. It definitely would not be a change candidate. He would just be cementing the status quo for the next however many years. Then we would never really get any sort of policy achievements we're really going for. So. Not really my guy, and I really hope he doesn't win or run in 2028, which he will. But
yeah,
I think other people on there like Andy Bashir from Kentucky would be interesting.
Yeah,
they say anytime you have a Democrat, they kind of do they really overperform. So
Roy Cooper, if he wasn't so old.
Who
was that?
Roy Cooper.
Oh, Roy Cooper. Yeah, the governor of North Carolina.
Yeah, I think that Roy Cooper was good. Was he like a basketball background, something like that?
I don't know, but North Carolina sounds like it.
I think it's something else. But I think that both you guys, the candidates you guys think are definitely big players in 2028. I don't think Kamala should run again. She shouldn't run again. She should, go be the governor of California because I definitely think she'll win that. She'll win that race. But I don't think that I just don't see her in a presidential. At least not now. From the version that we have of her now, like obviously she can get better and develop, what she needs. But
but at the same time, she's older than people think. She's 60 years old, so in 8 years she'll be 68. She'd have the same problems as I don't know.
I don't think age is such a big deal. I just watched Trump do a prep rally. That's what his post becoming prep rallies. No, I just seen him do a conference. He looks like he has dementia now.
Yeah, he probably does.
So it's like people really don't care how old you are. They just want to make sure that you're competent. The problem with Biden was he went out and he did a debate where he just looked like he wasn't even there.
Yeah,
like, he didn't talk. So I think he would have won in a landslide if he sounded just 10% more competent at that debate. So, I mean, I don't think age is such much of a factor. She can really develop herself and become a force. But as she's currently modeled, I just don't see her winning a general election. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't see it anymore either. But I'll admit I had a lot of doubts about her before she actually, announced. And after
Yeah,
that point, she really, really impressed me. I'll admit that. Like, she really changed my perception of her all around. There's a lot of, campaign strategy decisions that I really disagree with and would have gone the other direction. But I don't think those are the things that ultimately cost her. Because
let's
they
talk
say,
about
like, the internal polls of Biden before he dropped out had him
yeah.
winning like 4 states. Like, he was
Okay.
so
Yeah.
catastrophically behind Donald Trump that I think that this was just like in any other election. It was the rebellious Americans who hate the status
And
quo, the current
yeah,
administration. When things don't change, it's easy to blame who's current power, which is why Trump was ousted in the first place, and this is why
yep.
Harris, was associated too closely with Biden. That's really what I think ultimately cost her.
Yeah.
So, had she run
Okay.
Yeah.
even a little bit more aggressively against the Biden's failures, I think that she could have changed things. But the biggest mistake of the entire
Yeah.
campaign was that one View interview where she said, like, "Oh, I wouldn't change anything" or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she was walking a tightrope in between being a candidate and being the sitting vice president. Because the
Yeah.
vice
Yes.
president isn't supposed to badmouth the current administration, but the candidate was supposed to. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was pretty awkward for her to, say that there were failings of the Biden administration while also saying that everything's going fantastically.
Yeah.
You can't say both things at the same time. Well, you could,
You just
but
sound crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Rolf. I think that you're right. That View interview really killed her. I have one of my closest friends. He's a Republican, like a staunch Republican,
Yeah.
and he said that even though he's not voting Democrat because he's just a hardcore Republican, but he said
Yeah.
that he saw that interview and he was like, "Why would you even say that? Like,
Yeah.
why would you? You're not gonna do
There's no
anything."
upside.
Yeah, yeah, exactly what you're saying. So it's like people want their presidents to give them a vision and aspiration, and that's why I thought on paper she was a great candidate. She inspired women, African
Yeah.
Americans, minorities of all descent, you know, and she started the working class. I just think that ultimately, when it comes to presidencies, the reason why it's so hard is because there has to be a general connection between you and the American people. I just don't think that she was able to capture that genuine connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's like I can name the last 5 presidents and I can tell you what was cool about them that had nothing to do with politics.
Yeah. That's a good
You
point.
know? And so like that's what you want in your presidents. You want them to be relatable. And I just think she had a hard time doing that, and I think she can develop it, but it's her as she is currently constructed politically. I don't think she has the means to do it at this moment. But she can become governor for 8 years, learn. How California does what they did, and then maybe we'll have the second president from California.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's also part of it. This is that she's California, and like I
Yeah.
said, like the Southern Democrats are the ones that overperform. I think California liberal just sounds too liberal for a lot of the Midwest and stuff like that. Is that what you're
And
saying?
yeah, speaking of the Midwest, I feel like they shelved Walls way too much.
Yeah,
Honestly, if they would have made him the limelight of the campaign, he's so relatable.
Yes.
He's the sitting governor of Minnesota, and he's out at state fairs just walking around with his daughter. How many other governors of states can you say do that?
Yeah.
Like, he goes out, he hunts pheasants. How many?
I
He
don't
could
know what that
appeal. He could, yeah, he could appeal to the Midwestern flyover states, and that's the reason why they picked him.
Yep.
But I feel like, I never seen him by himself ever. He was always there with Kamala. He was always the one to introduce her, but he was never in his own limelight. And I know, like I said, the vice presidential pick is just supposed to be there to garner a demographic that you yourself couldn't get. But, running against a very unique candidate like Donald Trump, you need to make your pick, especially, even though I don't think he's as old as Kamala. I think he's younger than her.
No,
but,
marginally, but like months,
Yeah, but he looks older.
Yes,
but you're honestly, you need to put your old white man who shoots guns and goes to state fairs in front of audiences, especially in places like the South. That would have 100% done it in for places like Georgia and Mississippi and Kentucky. Kentucky votes regularly for Democratic governors, but when's the last time they voted Democrat for a presidential election? What, maybe Bill Clinton? I don't know. But I feel like
Kentucky.
Yeah, if it wasn't,
can you imagine if they ran a campaign of Tim Walz, the Hunter, versus the two Ivy League grad coastal elite, Vance Trump, which would be more relatable?
Millionaires and billionaires.
Exactly. Had they really been able to properly market it, except for the fact that at a fundamental level, they weren't really willing to take on the populist messaging that they really needed. They did it in a little bit in the beginning, but they just sort of shied away once they were really catering to the donors. And if there's anything that we should have learned from this this campaign, money's not the ultimate driver.
Oh my gosh, yes.
She made $1 billion that she had raised, and it got her nowhere.
That
historical.
I'm glad you walked into that, because that's the next topic. It's like, how do you mismanage that kind of money?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand it. It's like, you raise $1 billion. I don't even think Obama did that.
Yeah. I mean, money is different now, but still.
It's like, how do you mismanage it? That was another bad reflection of her campaign. It's like, what were you raising all that money for?
Well, I don't think that was the ultimate problem. Is my point. Is
not the ultimate problem, but that's one of the problems.
No, because the way she spent it was very intelligent in a lot of ways too. Because they had so much money that they had excess money, and they were leaving that money down ballot races and stuff, trying to build other campaigns up, which was not a dumb idea at all. But the thing that was different between them and Musk was Elon Musk was using his money in dark ways. He wasn't he was being immoral with the way he uses money. Borderline cheating using the money. I'm going to offer $1 million a day to somebody. I'm going to, they would send like these artificial texts to people.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to stop?
No.
I think he put a game plan that's going to happen in the next forever.
Yeah.
We'll do campaign financing. Because now everyone sees like, hey, I always said that. It's funny. It's like, we always say these things in joking manners until someone actually does it. I was like, what if you just paid someone $5 just to vote for you? Or $20 just to vote for you. And just get their vote that way. We always said that jokingly. I mean, most people say that. But then he actually did it.
Kinda, yeah. Well, he did it by being like, you not to vote for me, but sign this pledge and promise to register to vote. Blah 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 blah. But if you realistically got $1 million from somebody, you'd probably vote for him.
Yeah. And I remember back in 2016, whenever Yang did his whole UBI thing, I remember that was a big sting with people. That basically he's giving people money to vote for him because he's
buying votes.
Yeah, I remember that being just a big thing. And one of the he wasn't a very strong candidate to begin with, but I know that was like a big stain against his campaign. And now you have multi-billionaires buying votes. Not only buying votes here, but buying votes internationally. So
it was literally like Trump versus Kamala, excuse me.
Yeah.
And we had Waltz versus who's this guy?
JD Vance. I know because Musk is the vice president, as we know.
Yeah, that's why.
But Trump's the vice president.
No. I think Musk is the president. It's like whatever Musk says, that's what we're doing.
It's
Yeah.
really embarrassing, and this is one of the things that actually is like, I'm trying to see the silver lining of everything, and it's horrifying that Trump won, and the things he's going to do is horrifying. But had we gotten 4 years of Kamala Harris, we would have lost in 2028 definitively to to some charismatic, probably Nikki Haley or Tulsi Gabbard, and they would have blown her out, and then they would have 8 years of Reaganite type policies, and they wouldn't even be unpopular. That's the thing. But we're in the scenario where Trump is so catastrophically foolish. He's literally forefronting a billionaire that basically bought him. And it's not a secret to anybody. They can see what he's in every single policy administration. You can't really dance around the subject. So he's just forefronting all of his corruption and hiring TV hosts and stuff like that. And it's really going to make the Republican Party embarrassing. And I think that a lot of people are going to start to realize that. A lot of Republicans are already starting to regret their votes and already like, what's up with this? The infighting's already started, and he hasn't even taken office yet. I think this is going to destroy the Republican Party because they don't have a predecessor or a successor.
I know
the fact that Donald Trump Jr. is leading the votes right now for 2028 is so funny to me, and I think it's going to be really bad for the next 12.
I know I think it was an interview with Business Insider that Musk did not too long ago, where he sat, or the interview was like, well, you can't become president. And Musk made an off comment remark, said not officially.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, what? He did?
The interview with Business Insider magazine. The interviewer joked with Musk, basically stating you can't become president because he was born in South Africa.
Yeah.
And Musk, jokingly said back, not officially.
Yeah.
And it's so blatant that
well, he's not hiding it. Neither one of them are hiding it.
He's not hiding. Because he knows nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to him. He will ride into the sunset with his billions and billions of dollars.
So come 2028, I mean, I can't imagine that the American people haven't caught on to this bullshit, and I can't imagine the Democratic Party is going to replace Harris with somebody who less electorally viable, especially since they can't be the ones replacing it. It's the American people in the primaries this time. So, dear God, hopefully we get it together, and this is going to be an administration that wins in a landslide because of how horrifyingly blatant the Republican policies are, like imperialistic. Bomb Iran, bomb Mexico, all this stuff, crash the economy with tariffs. I can't imagine that this is not long-term good for the Democratic Party and their goals overall.
Well, the one thing, and I won't say it's a very contributing factor to her loss or by subsequent, Biden's loss. But we see internationally right now, because of the COVID pandemic and the worldwide inflationary policies that came from that, trying to keep economies stable, we've seen every single center-left party pretty much all around the world that's held elections after COVID, they've all lost. Every single one of them has lost. Every ruling party has lost. Yeah, they've all lost because inflation hit everybody and they were the ones to blame. And I feel like this election, no matter, if you were a part of the incumbency, like she was, people are going to blame you for what happened. And like I said, I feel like he should have really taken those polls early on seriously. Or I don't even think that his team gave it to him. I think they hid it from him. But I feel like they should have really, really seen that a historic loss was coming and said, okay, guys, I said I was a transitional figure. I'm not running again. Great. Fantastic. But that's not how history happened.
Yeah.
Now we get to deal with 4 years of maybe I'll be able to go vacation in Greenland next year. I don't know.
Think about it. 2 years until they don't even necessarily have the majority anymore.
Well, I say they don't even have a majority now with what shy 3 votes, and they don't have a majority because you need 217 and they have 219. So literally just 3 House Republicans just need to be absent that day, and the Democrats can pass whatever they want.
They don't even have to vote against. They just got to be okay.
So
Yeah.
what do you think? Okay, no, let's table that because I want to talk about
Yeah.
that later.
Yeah.
But let's so we're gonna table that for now because I want to talk about what do you guys think these next 4 years are gonna look like. But I want to move over to the transition. Now we've been gone through this transition, so we haven't been able to talk about some of the picks. So I'm gonna throw some names out there. You guys, tell me what you think. Let's start off with Tulsi Gabbard.
Snake.
Yeah, definitely. She completely sold out all of her values for money and popularity and fame. Although, come to see a lot of background information, she might not have ever held those values in the first place. She, if anything, she's returning to her origin, which
Really?
she was raised in this cult, super homophobic cult. Her dad was in politics. They're in Hawaii, where you can't be a Republican. So she ran as a Democrat. So, but fundamentally, she's not. She's always been kind of nationalistic. She's in the military. She's not. But she's hella charismatic, and I think that she was a Republican nominee, she would win. That's what I'm paying attention for in 2028. I hope to God it's Donald Trump Jr. They're not stupid. Like Donald Trump Jr., who literally has been seen doing cocaine on on camera next to Donald Trump at rallies. Like I would love to see them try to do that. He would lose like 40 states. He would not do well. It would be very, very, very bad for them. And I think that Democrats could win an LBJ size majority. So that's what I'm really, really heading my whatever. I'm just betting on that happening because it's going to be Donald Trump Jr., JD Vance, and then Nikki Haley would probably run but lose, and then maybe Tulsi Gabbard runs or something like that. That would be interesting, but we already pretty much know it's not like it's going to be a Marjorie Taylor Greene or anybody, somebody who's not already in the conversation.
Yeah, I'm worried about more our bench than their bench. I'll tell you that much.
You're worried in what sense?
That we don't have as many. We're not as deep as their bench.
Yeah, I'm really hoping somebody, somebody currently in the House or somebody maybe in the Senate, potentially maybe Cory Booker or somebody really, really starts to forefront some sort of popularity.
Cory Booker needs to get married.
Maybe that's what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe gets back together with Rosario Dawson or whatever, and
celebrity marriage. I hate to say it, but it's just politics. I mean, presidential elections, it's like you have to be married, you have to have children. Mm-hmm. It's like it just doesn't work. It's like a single man. It's not going to win the presidency. It just never going to happen. I mean, but I hear you. I hope it's someone from the Senate who has. I don't know anybody in the Senate right now.
If this were 3 years ago, I would have said John Fetterman, but he's clearly lost it. He's 3 years ago. Remember 3 years ago how cool he was.
Now he was cool, but now he looks like a grumpy old
man.
Yeah, he looks like a grumpy old man up there. I don't see him. I don't see anyone. I think it's gonna be the governors. It just literally is gonna be the governors, and they're gonna hash it out. We're gonna pick between the two of them. I know there's the Westmore guy from Maryland.
I don't see that happening.
Maybe not because
liberal state, and I've heard people. I've been actually fielding candidates to people who are just like my sister, not very politically
inclined,
politically educated, but not on the senators and governors. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, he's gay. I'm like, yeah, he's married. But if that's the perception that the Southern Democrat or whatever, I don't know how well that would fare.
Yes. I don't know if he's gay, but
he's not gay. But he doesn't.
He has gay mannerisms.
Doesn't give a strong masculine energy, even though he was.
Mannerisms. That's what it is.
Yes, mannerisms, all the stuff. That's the stuff that decides elections. It's little stuff like that. That's why Trump won. Ultimately, why Trump won.
I 100% believe if Bashir ran and won the nomination, he would win. I'm telling you guys, a nice Southern drawl on national TV, immediate win. I mean,
that's a good pick.
The last Southern Democrat that ran, Bill Clinton, immensely popular president.
Yeah. But Bill
even after
Bill has swag. Bill's guy. You're like, man, I want to go get a beer with Bill.
Yeah.
That is my only concern with Andy Bashir, though, is I've seen him on TV. He doesn't have the charm that like Tim Walz. If it was an Andy Bashir with the charisma of Tim Walz, that would be he'd win 75% of the vote. Right?
Oh, wow.
But Andy Bashir is a little bit.
He's a little dry.
He's a normal guy. He's a normal guy. That's the
Yeah.
that's the problem. He doesn't have that universal charm, but he's enough charm to win a deep red state with running on trans rights. I mean, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
He's got something there.
My call, I think Gretchen Whitmer's going to win.
I would love that, but I'm concerned. We're there. I think the American population, whether they're right or wrong, is going to be concerned about her as a woman after having 2 women lose in a row. I think that they'll try I think after this administration they'll give it a shot again, but this time it's gonna be a man. I'm almost sure.
Yeah.
But I said the problem with Hillary was she had the Clinton name. That was her biggest issue.
Yeah.
And the problem with Kamala was she didn't have swagger. So I think
I don't think that's even necessarily true. It's not, she had her own swagger, but I think that a lot of people didn't. Well, first of all, they didn't like pay attention. So most of her swagger that she forefronted was in the campaign, and they had already spent 4 years having a developed opinion of her. It's not like a lot of people were really changed, by the campaign.
I think there's a name in here that none of us are saying, and I really think that it will happen. I honest to God believe JP Pritzker would be fantastic.
I think the only holdback is he's from a pretty liberal city and all that stuff. But
he has the money, he has the swagger. He is Trump.
Yes.
But blue.
I agree. I would sign up for his campaign on day one to help campaign for him. I think
Big boy wonderful. Pritzker, 100%.
Yeah, he has the swagger. That's
I know he's done crimes and gotten away with it.
Yeah, I would love that. That he's a top 3 pick for me. Yeah. As far as I would love to see Walz try. And I would love to see him. And I would love to see
Walz can't win.
I know. I just said I'd love to see it, though.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to try.
After that VP debate, that actually made Vance look more normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the weirdest debate in history. It was like, I like you. Yeah, I like you too. Isn't this a debate?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of formality and a lot of respectability politics that we haven't seen in a long time.
It was a little disconcerting.
Yeah, right. It was like, this is American politics. Someone talks about someone's mom.
Yeah, but I think after Walz's underperforming in that debate,
yeah,
I think that's going to haunt him. I mean, he's a great guy. I think he'd be great as a hype man, which is kind of what they used him for.
Yeah,
but attached to an administration, fantastic. Head of the administration, it'd be hard to sell just his kind of speaking style.
Yeah, it's not.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think his speaking style is probably one of his biggest strengths. But I think what's interesting is
how. I think when you're saying about speaking style, I think when you say so when you're thinking speaking style, it's not the way you approach it, it's how you approach it. Like he doesn't know when to throw out a zinger, or he doesn't know.
I felt like he did.
He doesn't.
Well, yeah, but that was like studio news. That wasn't like on the fly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like what CNN talk. Like it's like for him, it's like okay. When you look at Trump, Trump and Biden actually are both good at it. They know how to throw fingers at not 2024 Biden, but
I agree.
Yeah, they both were really good at man, I'll take you in the back, and if I was younger, remember Biden said that and when
yeah,
we're like,
was that Paul Ryan or?
Yeah, I don't remember what he said, but those are the things that people remember. It's this strength that comes into the way you speak. And some people are just very, very polite. I have, I just myself, a lot of my clients think I'm very polite when I speak because I'm not.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah, because I'm not, I don't really lash out at people. It's not usually my tactic unless I strategically go in to do that. I don't really do that. So that's what people are saying, that it's the way I approach it. That's what they're talking
Yeah.
about. They're not really
And
talking about.
I feel like I'm the opposite, where I'm willing to
Yeah,
interrupt you in the middle of a
I'm
sentence.
very confrontational.
But that's what people look for when you're looking at president. You're looking at that guy who's like, man, that guy's an asshole, but I like him. I don't know why. That's what they look for.
Especially when they're considering foreign policy. I think these are some of the points that I had heard from random people, Uber drivers and such. Do you think Kamala Harris, how she would handle this with Russia? Do you think she would really be able to? Blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of it is rooted in sexism, but I think that there's this fundamental nature in which she's a black woman, so she has to be very polite and all this stuff, and can't be seen as aggressive. And that's some strength that you need when it comes to attracting a certain base of voters, where they want somebody to protect them from Russia and China, because those are their biggest fears, because they don't know shit about the economy. They're voting for somebody to protect them ultimately. Yeah. And since she had to balance so many different things because of her inherent nature, her demographic or whatever, I think that there's a lot of missteps that ultimately happen because of that. But maybe it's just an impossible challenge. I really think that she did the absolute best, one of the best that she could have possibly performed. There's certain things, but she really, for a lot of the campaign, was really performing at her best. And I think at the end they've made some mistakes, like not going on Rogan or whatever. But
I was having this conversation with my wife. We were driving to work one day, and I was just getting her insight on why. Because if you guys didn't realize, most women don't vote for women presidents. It's just
I mean, that's not statistically true, but what do you think about that?
Well, for example, I don't think did she run away with the women vote here in this last election? She didn't.
No, she didn't run away.
When I say, for example, look at Obama. When Obama ran, he had 90% of African American vote. That's a runaway.
Yeah.
You're not going to win that demographic.
That's not fair, because the Democratic Party inherently has 90% of the black vote. So I don't think that's a fair comparison.
Well, no.
Women are fundamentally still about 50-50.
Let's think about it. Could Kamala get 90% of the black vote? Because she wasn't. She wasn't nowhere near that.
She did, I think. No?
No, she was nowhere near that.
Would she get 87? Pretty damn close.
I don't think she got that.
I think she did. And if she didn't, then what, people voted for third party or Jill Stein or something? Trump did not get over 10% of the black vote. I'm almost positive about that.
No, we didn't get to but she didn't get 90% of the vote. I dare tell you that much. She didn't do that.
Well, I think she didn't. The people that showed up, I think more African American people just didn't vote. I think that the ultimate cause of people not turning out to vote. I don't even think that it was, and I think that's the biggest misstep in her campaign strategy. Was she was doing so strong in the beginning that she really wanted to, put the final nail in the coffin. So she just started shifting her messaging a little bit, because she wanted to take in her current coalition and make it bigger with former Republicans and such. When, maybe she got 1 or 2% of Republicans to change their mind, but she got 7% of Democrats to just not show up. You know what I mean? I think this is the ultimate problem, is she scared away her potential more left-leaning votes. I don't think that catering to the left is ultimately a good strategy, so they don't constitute a large voting base, but I do think that scaring them away is a costly mistake.
Okay, well, I tell you this. I'm looking at some polls numbers right now. Well, not polls, but results. She got 77% of the black vote. And
what did Trump get?
I think he got 13%.
Wow, that is an overperformance, but not majority, or not. Or not like massively.
I will say, the black vote in the election definitely was a cause, but the number one thing was the Hispanic vote.
Yeah, that was a major shift.
That was a huge one. That she lost. Yeah. She didn't lose Hispanic men vote. She lost pretty bad.
Yeah.
Somebody says in the chat she won 92%.
Of the black woman vote.
I do think when it comes to the Latin vote, I don't think that has to do with policy. I think that's actually
the thing. Laura Reby, thanks for the shout out with the statistic. I think that's probably right. She did get high among black women votes, but there was a black men vote she didn't do as well. She did better than people thought she was going to do. because people thought she was too
I do think most of the stuff, and I've been very critical of the K Hive and their strategies, and everything is racism, sexism when you don't like Kamala Harris. I think there's a lot of personality stuff that people don't care about.
No, that's personal. That wasn't
But
racist.
But around the margins, I think a lot of Black and Hispanic men just didn't vote for her because of sexism. I think that is a true thing.
No, I think that okay. So my thing with the Black Hispanic vote, I think there is a, and I was talking about Jenny about that. There's a culture,
Yeah.
divide that's going on right now. I don't think that's more race than more just a culture divide. Right now, they're having. I feel like a lot of men feel like they're not really being put in the conversation
I agree with
about
that
what
too.
needs to do to the country. Because right now, and that's just part of overreaction to Me Too.
Yeah.
The Me Too movement. Then you had a lot of other different groups pop up speaking about their rights, and I feel like a lot of the minority men felt like, "Hey, we have no one really speaking for us."
Yeah,
That's
and I don't think that they're fair in thinking so, but they were an unaddressed
fair,
group.
yeah.
Like, people just assumed that men are going to be men and stuff like that. When I think that's a much more reachable group than they could have had that they could have accessed. I think that was their attempt with having Obama talk down to these men and blah 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 blah. But I don't think that the way they went about it was very good or thought out. And I think that we're just lacking, and this was the common critique. We're lacking a media stronghold on the left. We're lacking any sort of strong figure to really lead. Kamala Harris was somebody we settled on. We didn't have anybody that inherently people are drawn to, and that's why we have them. She is the person that we were doing our absolute best to push people and convince that she would be a better option. But because there was never a primary, the DEI thing is ultimate. I really think that's a driving force, and I don't think it's like, oh, because she's a Black woman. I think it's more because she was chosen. Yeah, she was chosen as VP because of demographics or whatever. That's what some people would like to say, but then she just was picked because she was picked ultimately by an administration undemocratically, and I think a lot of the Democrats easily rallied behind her and wouldn't have gone against her. But I think that from the perception of non-democratic voters is that the Democrats are willing to rally around anybody, blah, 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 blah. They're being chosen from the top down. The people didn't ultimately decide, we want Trump is the people's choice, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that was the narrative after the election. Yeah. That was definitely a narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like Matthew said. I mean, that's really Biden's fault. That's not really no one else's fault. I mean, he put us in that position where it was like, we got to run somebody, and we know definitely he was going to lose. So he put it. I mean, that's one of the things. Like, hey, guess what? We didn't really lose, because a lot of people don't understand. Like, yeah, we lost the election, but we didn't really lose because really Trump can't pass anything without Democrats. Like, nothing can literally pass. So that was kind of a win. It was like a loss would have been like they had supermajority and they could pass all the things, and then Trump could sign it and change the laws. Mm-hmm. Really, in the next 4 years, Trump has to double down on foreign policy.
Yeah,
he doesn't have anything he can do within the actual country.
Yeah.
He's already backtracking.
He doesn't even have plans to do such. It's not like he's offered a domestic policy agenda. He's basically just been immigration, and I'm going to take over this country, and I'm going to make this country a state, and Greenland's ours now, and we're going to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Yeah,
America.
I think these are the representative kind of things that he's going to pursue. They're just not going to be ever realistic. And so the things he's going to pursue are never going to happen. And the minor things that do happen are going to get passed. You get a couple of little immigration reforms or whatever, tax cut in some way. And, maybe tax cut for small businesses, but it's secretly like the small businesses are actually corporations that are larger than, there's going to be little things that he's going to get passed that are going to harm the economy and harm
a lot of deregulation.
Yeah, a lot of deregulation.
I would tell my prediction, and I'll let you speak, Matthew, because I know you're going to say something. But there's a lot of I suspect the economy is going to collapse in 2026.
I think so. At least the stock market is going to, a lot of people, the stock market is not real. So I think there's going to be a lot of investors that are going to pull out. And because, if Trump is talking nonstop about tariffs, and then other countries are threatening tariffs, they're going to pull out and they're going to invest in cryptocurrency or something like that. And, so there's going to be some artificial, I think it's going to be pretty devastating for a lot of people. And I think prices will rise. I think it will help the Democratic Party overall. But I don't know. I do think that people don't talk about. They're really scared, but I think he's limited to 2 years of actually getting policy passed. I don't see them re-winning or winning any sort of like majority in 2026. I don't see how they could possibly do that unless he really chooses to like, let's actually secretly keep all the good things that Biden did and run on them and pretend it was us, which doesn't sound like Trump's style at all. I mean, he's gonna try to destroy everything because he's stupid. So he'd rather destroy something that was his than run on somebody else's successes. So I think they're limited to 2 years of chaos and then 2 years of stagnancy, and then I think we win. And he's going to be delusional, even so much more delusional than we can imagine at this point. They may even have to do the 25th Amendment or whatever it is, whichever one has to. They might even try to oust him, or maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. But if it gets bad
He's
enough,
a figurehead, yeah.
If it gets bad enough, they really might. Like he's not the person controlling things. There is a sort of deep state, which is just donors and ultimately the oligarchy, which he just cemented into power essentially.
Yeah.
If we've seen anything, is that Musk is about as in the driver's seat as Trump, and I think the base will just absolutely hate this sort of Musk oligarchy even the Trump people are going to hate the Musks of the world by the end of this. I think it's going to be very interesting to see. I just really think the Republican Party is going to collapse at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, the good thing that we have going is the fact that historically, the party that is currently in power in a new presidential term always historically loses in the midterms.
Yeah.
So
pretty much always.
Yeah. So like you said, 2 years of him maybe getting some small piddly crap done.
Yeah.
That he can scrape all Republicans from all over the country to sit there and say yes to. And then 2026, we'll see, a resurgence, maybe a couple seat Democratic majority.
Yeah. Just enough to prevent anything from actually being passed.
And then at that point, nothing is going to get passed. It's going to be a 2-year lame duck president where he can't do anything.
The only thing would be basic budget proposals and stuff like that. And I don't think that there's much change actually going to happen. I do think the most interesting thing is going to be foreign policy. And I think that's the most terrifying thing too. And, not only like potential wars and like airstrikes and stuff like that, but like different ways in which he's going to sell out the United States to Saudi Arabia, all these different things he did in the first administration, selling them out, selling our secrets, selling power and control over different things to different powers who just praise his ego, all this different stuff. Mm-hmm. So, Victor Orban, I don't know, just anybody who likes him.
Yeah, I do feel, on the foreign policy standpoint, I do see things like Europe becoming more militant because they can't rely on the United States anymore. And, if history is anything, a militant Europe is never good Europe.
Very true.
I see a lot of alliances kind of being on shaky grounds or completely being broken, especially, right now for some weird reason with the United States and Denmark. I don't know why he has such a problem with why he wants Greenland.
I mean,
so
Greenland
bad.
It makes a little bit of sense. Greenland is a geopolitical strategy, and also they have a lot of oil reserves, so economically it makes a lot of sense. And it's not like there's a large population that would be standing against it, but it's not going to be very feasible.
Trade routes too, because you could trading up north.
And I don't know if he's ever been and spoken to actual Canadians, but majority of Canadians hate Americans.
Yeah.
They hate. No, they don't hate Americans. They hate the concept of being. They hate being lumped up with America.
But you're in America.
They have sort of a nationalistic. I'm not American. I'm Canadian. Some YouTuber, what's his name, JJ McCormick or whatever his name is, he goes really in depth with this. He's Canadian. He's from British Columbia. He goes, people, we take a lot of the culture, a lot of the symbolism, all of that, but never call us American. We're
Yeah.
Canadian. And even your most far right, I will say, like mainstream Canadian, is going to be closer to like the center of the Republican Party
Yeah.
than where Trump is.
Yeah.
And
They
they
might also
love,
hate immigrants and,
yeah,
want to preserve a certain white majority, but economically, they're not controlled in the same way as the United States is, just on this free market bullshit. I mean, they tried that with, what was his name? I don't remember. I'm not going to try to remember
Trudeau?
Canadian conservative politics, but
Trudeau?
what was that?
The guy
Oh,
before Trudeau?
I was just trying to think of whatever people. Who was the one that who was the guy who ran against Andrew Scheer? Do you remember that, Matthew? He kind of started the People's Party of Canada. He started that shit. Do you remember that? That far right guy?
I'm
Maxime
thinking,
Bernier.
Maxime, yeah, Bernier, yeah.
Yes. I mean, he's much more.
French.
Yeah, I mean, in that, I guess in that election, it kind of showed that even the Canadian Party was kind of split 50-50 on that stuff. The more nationalistic versus economically, conservative, but socially moderate. But I mean, it's just a much more moderate party overall. And I wish the United States would take note, but it just shows how much more far back we are in like our media sphere, and how much more controlled they are by the economic elites than we are. They're just a much more liberal country overall. And I think that's something that would happen with a much more sizable liberal majority if we were ever to figure out how to properly organize a coalition. I think the United States could move in that direction pretty easily. It just would take a little bit of work. I think that could be the 2030s for us. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I'm really hoping for, is that Trump is just so catastrophically bad in a way that's, doesn't kill us all, but like does set back the Republican Party in a way that they can't operate without Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's most realistic to happen.
Yeah, I honestly believe after Trump, they're going to be in an identity crisis that will shake the party. I believe the neoconservatives will try to take control back.
Yeah.
Because right now you have right now you have kind of like the fascist wing kind of most in control.
Christian nationalist.
Christian nationalists. But after Trump, I 100% think the neocons are going to try to take over, get rejected. I don't know. I honestly believe that the Republicans are so shaky right now. After Trump, you might see either a realignment of the Republican Party or a splitting of them.
I think, that's a very good point. I definitely agree with you. It's going to be one or the other, and I mean, it's probably going to be both at the very least. If unless the Trump people can maintain their majority, then it'll be split. But there's definitely going to be a shift if they ever plan on winning again. So maybe they're going to stick with the Trumpism thing that they're really shooting themselves in the foot for the next decade. And then I think they'll ultimately shift towards the center in just a way enough to recapture the American people in a slightly center right way that, it's kind of like, I can't think of a good example, but I don't know, just economically moderate enough that they, like they're populist on Medicare and Medicaid, but they still want low taxes and this and that. And they're cool with gay people, but they still don't really love immigration. It's enough that I think they would, like the Nikki Haley's, maybe even more moderate than they would win. They would win America 60% of the vote. That's not a good thing. That's why I kind of like this.
So what's in the chat? It says, "What about you guys take on the liberal progressive split? You guys see that happening?"
I don't think so. I think I think if anything, we're going to become more aligned than ever. I mean, it depends on who is nominated. If they nominate a really shitty ass neoliberal to be the nominee again, it might be a problem. But I think they'll learn. I think they'll learn a little bit at least. I think it'll be still someone more centrist.
The time for that was right after the election. Especially if Biden would have stayed in, it would have. I would be surprised if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But progressive liberal split. The progressives, will always be our own thing. We'll
Yeah.
criticize. But yeah, I think, but because we've seen the Trumpism from not Trump, and it's lost almost every single time.
Yes, 100% my point. Yeah.
Unless you're from a deep red Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert district, it's lost pretty consistently. It takes Trump to make Trumpism work.
Yeah, I agree.
And after he's removed and he can no longer be the center, the leader of the party, I think they'll try it again.
They'll try. They definitely. It will win. It will win. In 2028, it will be a Trumpist. I'm almost sure. And they're not ready to move forward.
I think they're going to try to make Vance the 28.
Yeah. Well, he will run. Whether or not he runs on his own, I think Tulsi Gabbard or somebody could beat JD Vance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody who's like charismatic and like perceived as more moderate still for whatever reason. Oh, she used to be a Democrat. She's basically a liberal, but I think that will convince the non-politically educated people. She's anti-war, blah, blah. They're not going to be convinced that she's a Russian asset. She's in the military after all. I think somebody like that would be a perfect choice for them in 28, because she can sort of parse between staying the moderate, or moderate perception to an extent to the American populace while still catering to the Trumpist populists. I don't know. I think that would be a low-key a smart choice for the Republicans, but it would be so catastrophic for the United States.
Yeah, what they said there in the chat is that Pelosi is still preventing progressive leadership. 100%. I think Pelosi. I think it's her time to go. I think she's from a bygone era. Kudos to her for getting Biden out. Kudos for her for that. She did one thing right. Fantastic. Great.
Yeah.
But AOC losing to a 71-year-old with throat cancer.
Yeah.
Is
wait, what?
Yeah,
AOC for the oversight committee, not her actual election. The
okay, yeah. I thought she got reelected.
No. But oversight committee, one of the most powerful committees in the House.
Yeah, exactly.
Pelosi, I honest to God think she has a thing against AOC.
And who won?
Personally.
Because AOC is kind of like the strongest, like she's kind of the most Trump person that we have, in the sense that she has her own base that is undying, and she has that charisma that, despite her perceived radicalism, people are still like, yeah, I like her. She seems genuine. She's cool. Like, maybe I wouldn't even vote for her, but I'd hang out with her. She's got that sort of quality that I think is she's young too, so that's gonna last for a long time. I do think that she's
not gonna win presidency of it, but
maybe not, but 2040. I can't say that that's true. Honestly, I don't think that that's necessarily true. Like, I think that she's the most Bernie person outside of Bernie. I think she has so much charisma, and if she really finds a way to she has matured a lot as a politician, and I think we're talking about 20 years from now or 15 years from now. We don't know.
I'm never saying never. She probably might, but I'm not now.
At the least, not now. But at the least, she'll be like the driver of a coalition for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't imagine. She's smart enough that she's not going to shoot herself in the foot, and I think that she's gonna lead a coalition for damn sure. Just like Bernie's never been the president, but he's always run the coalition of the progressive left. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So I just think that they need to find somebody that's in between both wings, and also maybe a Southern person, so they can be perceived as more moderate to people who aren't even involved in the Democratic Party. They just need somebody that can just parse through enough of the division to unite 55% of Americans against the Republicans, and then we can get a filibuster-proof majority, and then we can change things for a while. Just like Trump is trying to, I'm going to use this majority to completely shift the United States in a way in which Democrats can never win again. I think that's what we need to do, and the best way we can possibly do it. But the problem with this is the way to win is not a top-down strategy. That's the thing that keeps losing for Democrats. So American people have to just somehow find a leader, and they have to choose them democratically. And I don't know. It's a lot of things that we need to happen ultimately, but
Yeah, I think the era of they go low, we go high is honest to God over.
it's done. It's done. It's gonna be a nasty decade of politics. And I'm here for it because honestly,
I mean, that's what we signed up for.
yeah, it's the only thing that's gonna work for Democrats in the future because they've just been they're perceived as like, oh, the liberal, they're weak and blah 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 blah. We need a strong liberal opposition, one that's given the right character, the right forefront, the leader. I think that we could completely shift Americans' perception on what liberalism or the Democratic Party is altogether. If we can manage opposing Trump in the right way, it could completely shift the Overton window towards the left because of how nasty Trump is about to do to the Republican Party.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're getting close to the end, so I'm gonna do some rapid fires with you guys. You guys tell me what your take is, and let the audience know what you guys thinking. RFK health. What do you guys think about that?
That is actually a really good question for Matthew, because Matthew was a little bit more interested in like the third party option earlier on in the election cycle. I think you were a little bit more disillusioned with him after he joined Trump, but I'm interested in how you feel about this too, because I'm also
honestly, in fact, whenever he first, because I didn't like Biden. I did not like Biden.
As you
I
should
didn't
not
like him.
Yeah.
I didn't like him as a person. I didn't like, everything to do with him. Once I seen RFK, like I had no idea about his wackadoodle conspiracy theory. I didn't know. My wife just showed me a TikTok from his campaign account talking about the housing crisis and rents and all of that. And I was like, you know what? This guy, he's saying things to me that make sense. I'll go a little bit deeper, but the more that I dug, the more insane he sounded. Up until I was like 50% willing to look past all of that.
Yeah.
Until it came out that he met with Trump at the RNC, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a plan. This is 100% a plan. Like,
I think it was planted from the start too. Yeah, I agree.
You can't sit there and say, oh, I hate both of them, and go meet one, at literally the convention of a party that, one, you've never been a part of, and two, who you are actively running against. Honestly, I feel like if he didn't kind of cave and run with Trump, I feel like he probably could have been the biggest showing of a third party in 20 years.
I agree. I think his biggest mistake was Nicole Shanahan, honestly, because that was the most obviously ridiculous decision he had made. She was an okay communicator, but at the end of the day, she was a billionaire's ex-wife who bought him a Super Bowl commercial, and that was who he picked as VP. She had no political experience or any experience whatsoever, and that was really a moment for me where I was like a little bit interested. Didn't think I was going to vote for him, but I definitely was rooting for him in the sense I wanted to see a third-party rush, but I also wanted to see him take votes away from Trump, which I thought was what was going to happen. When I saw him pick Nicole Shanahan, I'm like, oh, it's over. People are going to see through that now. It's too obvious.
That was the biggest who of my life whenever I seen that announcement.
That was definitely. We got someone in the chat said I voted for Trump because I didn't like Camilla. I think that's a lot of people's sentiment.
Yeah, I know.
It's valid.
I know normal people that voted for Biden then voted for Trump because they thought Biden ruined the economy and he's old and all this stuff. Like, to the politically non-educated people, in hindsight, I'm not surprised how this election turned out. It's a vote against Biden more than anything, even more than a vote against Kamala.
Yeah, and thanks PP Jackson 69 for that. And earlier it was Real Vikings were Wolf. Thanks for the chime in. And I am Food Crayon. Thanks for your chime in. And Law Louis B. Thanks for your chime in. All right, guys. So going back to the rapid fire. Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State.
The most sane pick he's had.
What?
I,
I said
in a sense, I agree because he's like at least a politician who's worked with foreign policy and like he's not a fucking TV host. But yeah, he's also a bad pick, obviously. But
Oh, he's a bad person.
no, yeah, he
the
just
Secretary of Defense is going to be the Fox News host on the weekend. Wait a minute. You got the guy who can't even get a main job on Fox News?
Yeah.
And
He at
people will say,
least-
"Oh well."
No,
Go
he's a dangerous pick, but at the least he's not going to be somebody that the rest of the world is going to laugh at us for having picked. You know, he at least is like a somewhat sensible person to be talking to other foreign policy leaders, even if I think he wants to bomb them all. But
Yeah.
That's a good
The o-
point, Matthew.
The only terrible thing is that because I live in Florida, you do, Jesse. It's fine. But
Yeah,
the only terrible thing is that we don't get to vote for his replacement. It's appointed by DeSantis.
yeah.
Thankfully, Laura Trump took her name out of consideration because if she didn't, I would 100% believe that she would become our next senator, and I would have to think about moving.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Like I always tell Seth, like Florida is not this red. Trust me, we are not
Yeah.
this red. I know
Yeah.
it seems like it, but we're a very purple state. And
Yeah, I think the Democrats are just disillusioned and don't show up to vote ultimately.
well, we just have very bad state politics. It's
Yeah.
just what it is. Our
Yeah,
state Democratic Party is very bad compared to other state Democratic parties because honestly, the kind of victories that the Republicans have had in this state and the fact that I think we only have like 14 Democrats elected statewide now, 14 and 15, is just a very bad on the Democratic Party because a lot of these counties are not that super red. Yeah, majority of Florida is red, but our cities are huge, like West
Yeah.
Palm, Miami, Broward County, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County. Those are huge counties that
Mhm.
offset that red throughout the middle of the state. So we're just doing a very bad job statewide politically.
I was hoping Nikki Fried could do something about that, being the last statewide elected Democrat, but
Yeah.
Our last
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think I might just need to see one more election cycle with her
Yeah.
to really judge because she's only been in the position for, I think, a year and a half.
Yeah.
But Florida didn't even pass the abortion rights or the marijuana policy.
Okay.
Super close.
But we need 60% to pass our amendments.
Yeah.
And we got, I think the abortion ended at 57%.
Yeah, we were
Like
super close.
a good majority of Floridians
So
wanted it.
43% win.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised. They both almost passed. And like I said, if we just had a better state party, I think both of them would have passed.
Yeah.
It's just that we're very, I'm not saying disorganized. I just think that we don't really know how to pick, we don't know how to pick candidates, in my opinion. I think like that's our biggest issue. We pick candidates that are, in my opinion, they're very cultural driven. They don't really not very policy driven.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, when you start getting down to it, people are like, okay, what do you stand for? They were like, I believe all these culture things, and people don't vote for culture.
Yeah.
People vote for their own paychecks, and they vote
for their own paychecks.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it enough in Florida, but yeah, that's another story for another day. Some other news. Doug Burgum, that was another big name.
Wait, what? What is he doing? Is he Secretary of Interior or some shit?
I think he is going to be is it Secretary of Energy?
Ultimately,
yeah, so he's gonna be big. He's gonna be a part of the Canadian negotiations to make him a state.
Oh
God! So we can get access to their pipeline.
Oh yeah, Doug Burgum to lead Department of Interior. So I mean that kind of makes sense too. He is from North Dakota, and I mean they have
interior.
Yeah, that's about as interior
in the middle.
So I mean he's kind of like a neo-conish Republican that never did anything. Yeah, he's a Reaganite. I think he just picked him because he didn't have anyone. Yeah, consolidation prize for running against him.
Yeah, right.
for bowing out against him, I guess.
Yeah.
Because Nikki Haley's not getting anything because she didn't bow
Well, he
out
wanted
against
him to
him.
be the vice president. Remember? He
Doug
wanted him.
Burgum. I honestly, yeah, Doug Burgum would be a fine do nothing vice president.
Yeah, he would have been a good choice. You know,
Yeah.
he's handsome enough and he's at least non-controversial enough that he would have
I
done better.
think that's who Trump was going to pick before Elon Musk and his children got to him for JD Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just wanted another simple Midwestern white guy. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't work too well for him last time, but you know, try again with a different one.
We got and the last one is the guy who almost made it but didn't make it.
Yeah.
What's his face?
Oh, Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz.
I don't think that I don't know if he ever even intended on
pedophile. Oh,
yeah, he's a pedophile. But the fact that the way that he resigned from Congress before he was even selected, even though he'd be controversial, makes me think that this was just like an opportunity with Trump and his friend for him to like, here's an opportunity for you to resign in a way that makes you not look as bad. I almost think that he knew ahead of time. They made a little deal though, because like he had to have known that once it passed. They had to have known within the Republican Party. They knew they don't even the Republicans don't like Matt Gaetz. Like, I don't think that was ever a serious consideration. Like, didn't even make sense to pick like attorney general. There's nothing about him that even would scream that to Trump. I think it was just like a little backroom deal kind of thing. That's my personal opinion.
Well, now we have Pam Bondi, who, if you remember, what was her name?
Is that the AG pick?
That used to be our secretary.
They used to be our AG.
Used to be our AG.
Oh. Yeah. She famously presided over Casey Anthony.
Oh God!
So,
and she did lose that case.
She did lose. So that's going to be our new attorney general. That's
yeah. So the summons of love, guys. Florida is taking over the White House.
Oh God!
Florida's first president is Donald J. Trump.
That's it.
Yeah.
Florida has taken over the White House.
Probably the last president.
Probably the last one. Yeah.
Right.
Our very first Floridian president will definitely be our last. It's fine.
Yeah.
Who gave this to Florida? It's like, well, he's technically from New York.
Yeah.
He's just avoiding the criminal lawsuits. Yeah, he's not really a Floridian. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this was a great show. We've really caught on. Matthew, I definitely want you on next time. It's it's great. The social media activity was awesome. Thank you guys for all your questions, your insight, your statistics. We look forward to working these next 4 years, guys, with you because we are the resistance. And I was saying earlier to Seth and Matthew, it's like you got to think like, Luke Skywalker, they had to fight, and they had to take it over, and they took the empire, and they and they were able to strike back. So we can strike back, and we gotta continue our conversations. Gotta continue the dialogue. We gotta keep getting insight from my perspective, the think tank of the Democratic Party, which is the progressives. So we got to keep chiming in and got to keep helping. So that
that's a very good point. And last point is like, progressives are never going to be the forefront. We're never going to be the candidate, but we can influence the liberals in a way that we can change their, they're going to be the forefront, but their ideas is something that we can change. I think that's the goal moving forward. We need to change liberals' ideas in a way that they're more palatable to the working class, but they're still going to be moderate enough for the rest of America to pick. So the next 4 years we need to change liberals in the way that makes them less likely to vote for somebody like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, in the primaries.
Exactly. Matthew, you got any last final words?
I just wanted to thank you for having me on. Fantastic being here. Look forward to coming back. Maybe
we'll definitely have you on in a future episode. We can talk more about actual politics, not just summarizing, what's happening in the world. We can talk about ideas next time. Much more interesting conversation too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for coming. We're glad you spent your last hour and 15 minutes with us. We hope you guys imagine more. Stay tuned. This is going to be a great season. And like I said, we need you guys for the resistance. So keep coming in. Keep giving your insight, and then we're gonna fight back. Nothing more. See you guys.
Have a great week, everybody.